There's a good book, for example, called The Wealth and Poverty of Nations, written by a Harvard emeritus professor whose name escapes me momentarily, but he talked about the unbelievably high economic value of interpersonal trust, which I think is the most fundamental natural resource. And we know, too, that one of the best predictors of long-term success in complex organizations isn't agreeableness or compassion, which is the only virtue that seems to matter at the moment, even though its status as a virtue is highly debatable in my estimation, because compassion has to be tempered with judgment. Otherwise, it's devouring. But conscientiousness is an excellent predictor of long-term success for individuals, and conscientious people are truthful and reliable and industrious and orderly. That can be a problem because it can lead to a kind of rigidity. So it's not the only virtue that's necessary, but it does seem to be the case that honesty is a productive policy. And I would also say that if you look around the world, the cultures that are the most corrupt are the cultures that are the most poor. And you could say, well, the reason that they're corrupt is because they're poor. But I don't believe that, because then you'd have to also agree that if you're poor, you're corrupt. And I don't think that's true. I think the corruption drives the poverty. Now, there's no doubt somewhat of a feedback loop there, but you get rid of corruption, you get rid of poverty. That's my sense. And like I said, you can make the opposite argument if you want. Well, poverty causes corruption. Well, really, so your claim is that the poor are more corrupt because they're poor. That's your fundamental claim, and that the poverty is driving the corruption. And I'm afraid I don't believe that. I don't think that the poor, there may be more corrupt people who are poor, but that's because they're corrupt. If you take poor people as a group, people who are relatively deprived materially, I don't believe that there's any evidence that they are more corrupt than people who are more materially, what would you call, satiated. So